A little schmaltzy, but I think it was worth it. I think it's, I appreciate your attention to me and to the harp, one of our most loved and often overlooked instruments. And with that, I'd like to pass the microphone off to Christine Demint, the Greenville Symphony's Director of Development, and for the moment, the Director of Marketing and everything else that we have a person for. The wonderful, the fabulous Christine Demint.
Okay. Well, John is a very hard act to follow. Would you like me looking somewhere specific?
Here we're going to say,
Okay.
you face the camera.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here with us today. And John is the main act, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about the Greenville Symphony. We were founded in 1948, so we are in our 74th season right now. And the symphony for the first 50 years actually performed at Furman University. So this was our performance space, I believe, at the old campus. We do. You got it? Okay, perfect. I just wanted to share with you guys the mission of the symphony. We are dedicated to providing educational and cultural opportunities to the citizens of Greenville and the surrounding areas. So our concerts, how many people in here have been to a symphony concert? Oh, fabulous. So you guys know a lot about us then. We have 6 Masterworks concerts, but 12 performances throughout a season, and those are performed in the big hall of the Peace Center. And then we have our chamber concerts that are a smaller, more intimate feel at the Gunter Theater. Holiday at Peace is our big holiday show that attracts a lot of families and people who don't traditionally come out to hear the classical music of the symphony. And then we traditionally have a pops concert or 2. This year we have the music of the Beatles coming up on March 10th. So if you guys like the Beatles, we would love for you to come on March 10th. There are still tickets available. And to that note, I will say we have some handouts here for you that you can get from Taylor here at the end. This shows our whole season. So on one side, we have our Masterworks concerts, and on the other side, we have our chamber concerts, as well as our pops. This is for this year. We're about halfway through this season. Next season is our 75th anniversary. We have lots of really exciting concerts and events planned in celebration. So stay tuned, be looking on our website. And if you would like to join our email list, you can also see Taylor here. Taylor, and she can get you on our mailing list so you can receive mail and emails just about all the exciting things that we have going on at the symphony. And for the 75th anniversary, John Wicke, who you heard, you'll have to wait a year, but he will be the featured soloist in one of our chamber concerts next season. So it's really exciting when there's a soloist that's within our own orchestra. So we have these for you. We also have our spring promotion. If you guys are interested, we have these here as well. If you buy tickets to Beatles, one of our chamber and one of our Masterworks, so this is for people maybe who aren't subscribing or who have never been to the symphony or would like to just get a little taste of a pops, a chamber, and a Masterworks, you can bundle them together and get 25% off. So there's my sales pitch for today. We would love to see you in the concert hall. And then I thought I would just, for those of you who aren't aware much of our education programs, education and community engagement really is the heart of the symphony. And we have amazing musicians who perform on the stage for us, but are also out in the classrooms and in places throughout the community, the library system, the children's theater. We have great partnerships throughout Greenville. So I just thought I'd show you a couple pictures just so you could kind of see the musicians in action and learn a little bit about what we do outside of the concert hall. All of our education programs are free to attend, and we really want all children in Greenville from preschool all the way through college. We have, programs for college age to attend and have equitable access. So, we are targeting Title I schools and just all the public schools, private schools, so that everyone has a chance to experience classical music. These are pictures from our Lollipops concert, which targets our youngest audience members here, and we partner with the library system to hold these and with the children's theater. And then here you'll see some photos from, this one is from our EdReach program, which is, we go into all 51 elementary schools in Greenville County, and we bring one of our quartets or quintets in, and they perform for the children and teach them about the different instruments. And for many of these children, this may be their first interaction with a professional musician. And then on the other side, you'll see pictures from our children's concert, where we bring 3,000 Greenville County elementary school children into the Peace Center Hall. We have 2 concerts, and they get to hear a shortened version of one of our Masterworks concerts. And the maestro, as you can see up there, they pick a winner who gets to come up and have a conducting lesson on stage. And he'll often have the orchestra play a favorite like Star Wars or Indiana Jones that the children love. And they get so excited to see this music that they've heard on their TV screens come to life with a 60+ person orchestra. And for many of these children, it may even be their first time to the Peace Center, their first time in downtown Greenville. So we love having this for them. And again, it's free of charge, and we help the schools get them to the Peace Center and help them enjoy this experience. And then these are some pictures of our education programs for middle school and high school, where we actually, our principal musicians will go in to the classrooms and work with the music students one-on-one. And here's a shoulder to shoulder where our musicians actually play with some of the youth orchestra members in a concert. So our goal is just to continue to inspire and bring joy to our community. So I would love to take any questions. Have John take any questions from you guys about the symphony? And we'll be here after if you guys, again, would like to sign up for the mailing list, get some handouts, and we will also provide electronic copies to the Ollie staff or Mary Lou so that you guys can post them wherever you see fit.
And with John's permission, we'd like to make this concert that he's done today available to all 1,200.
Certainly,
Ollie.
as long as they can hear it.
I know. Hopefully it's worked better than that. I know, y'all are fortunate you got here. That was perfect.
Do you guys have any questions? Yes.
For John, a couple of them. Number one, how do you keep it in tune? I bring my guitar here and I have to tune it up, and I can't imagine carrying that outside.
Well, yes. Yeah, it's a little bit of a trick. You tune every time you play. So before I played today, I brought the harp in about an hour early to adjust to the climate. And there was something in the second octave wasn't quite right, but it wasn't bad enough that I wanted to stop in the middle and tune. Some of us have a sort of horror. It's very like nervous players, and we're all nervous. Harpists will come on stage and like sit there and tune in front of the audience for 5 minutes. And that just makes me more nervous. And I really don't tune well when I'm being watched like that. So I just avoid it. But it's a little bit, it's like a 10-minute project. I have a Peterson strobe tuner portable that I use, and I just plug a microphone into it that goes into the back of the instrument so I can tune when other instruments are playing. And it only takes about 10 minutes. It's not really a long and involved process, but you should always tune as you go.
How did you get to pick the harp? You don't go to Parker Music and rent last year's harp.
Well, you must have missed the start of this whole, my story was that I went to this public high school in Detroit, Cass Technical High School, that's had a harp department since 1925, and I don't know why, but they did. You know, when industries are rich and there's money flowing around, they just throw money into the weirdest places, and this is one of the places they threw it, was into the harp. And so the department's been around, and it was just class harp versus, you know, choir too. Yes, my voice was changing. But Cass Tech has generated a number of great harpists, especially in the jazz area. Dorothy Ashby went there, Alice Coltrane, John Coltrane's wife, went there, and a number of other prominent pop and jazz harpists went to Cass Tech.
How many octaves?
It has that the harp is surprisingly, it's 6 octaves, and it almost has this entire sonic range of a piano. And if it had one string for every note, like the piano has one key for every note, it would be so long that my arms would not reach from one end to the other, which is why we have the wonderful pedals. So the strings of the harp are like the white keys of the piano, and you make the black keys by moving the pedals up and down and lengthening or shortening the string to make the pitch higher or lower.
Where are the pedals?
They're behind. Hang on a second. So there's one pedal for every.
That's come up.
So there's 3 on the left and 4 on the right. And so when the B is in flat, no B discs are touching the harp. But when I move it to natural, the natural discs on all the Bs, when I move that B pedal from flat to natural, go to natural. And I move it down one more, they go to sharp. And so very early on in the manufacture, before there was a double action, meaning it went 2 notches down, there was a single action harp, and that's sort of what Marie Antoinette played. And the minute they figured out that you had the double action, they were waiting for it, and they knew that they could do these fancy little things. If you double certain notes in the scale, it's no longer a scale. It's more like a fluid chord. So when you hear the harp in orchestra or in movies, you're generally hearing what we call a sort of prepared glissando, or Salzado called it flukes. He thought glissando, which is from the Italian to slide, was insignificant noun for the wonder that could be a glissando or a flux. So they called them a flukes. Anyway, that's about the pedals in the harp.
How do you change a string?
How do I change a string? Oh, well, you do, the string comes off and you put the new one in the hole in the soundboard here, and then you tie the knot on the back, and then you put it up through the top, and then just tune it up. It's not hard, except when you first start oftentimes my little dealer harpists will tie the knot, and then they think they're going to thread it in the back, and I'm like, how are you going to get your hand in there? The lessons you learn in a long, slow way. Yes, ma'am.
So I played guitar and piano too, and I was just wondering, you know, how hard is it on your hands? Because do you develop calluses, or is it hard on your
Yes.
nails?
Everything that you do that you love causes pain. Don't you know that? You know from the guitar, on your fret hand, when it's on the fingerboard side, you get developed calluses. And with the harp, you do too. But after a while, after so many years, your hands just to be sort of like, you know how your feet can get, like, you know, you got those deep, hard calluses on the balls of your feet. That's what happens to your fingertips. It's not real pretty.
Doesn't it hurt on your nails too?
You know, different people have different nails. Sometimes we play with our nails. Sometimes there's an effect I used in Song of the Night, and it's a good effect on the harp. And sometimes you use your fingernails. So it's good to have, so you have to keep it kind of nail, but you file them so you have kind of like a half moon in the center. So you just leave yourself a little ridge. I'm fortunate to have big, fat nail beds. And so I've got plenty of distance between where I'm playing and my nail. Other harpists that are more slender and have slenderer pads have to really work to sort of navigate like too much nail, and then it's nail when I don't want it in the sound, and then not enough nail when you want to, you know, that kind of thing. So it is interesting with the nails.
How much does it weigh? And how do you transport it if you're?
Well, you have to have a large, like, you know, an SUV or a station wagon. Some people have been getting them in their Priuses, but I'm like, I'm sure you have to give up a certain amount of driving room. You can't be very tall and give up that much room in the path on the driver's side. So you want to lay it on this side, so the tall end goes over towards the left of the back of your car. They weigh about, this is about 85 pounds, which really isn't very heavy considering its size. It's mostly hollow. And as I would travel with my harp duo partner, I joked with her once, she said, oh yeah, it's not very, she said to an audience, it's not very heavy. Most of the weight is in the bottom. And I said, like some people I know. Because she had gotten a good dig on me about something else. So payback is not good with harpists anyway. So it's people always say, well, don't you wish you played the flute? And it's like, no. Why do I want to play a flute? I mean, yes, you have to move it in and out, but that's, it's part of the whole shtick of a harp. I don't want to play a flute. I want to play this.
So you're playing an instrument very similar to an organ in that you're using your feet and your hands at different times.
Yes, and here on the good side, it's much more portable than an organ. That's right. So you use them.
I've never heard the percussion part.
Oh, the tympanic
Yeah,
sounds?
that was interesting.
Right, they do that on the guitar too. You'll tap the soundboard. That's why that piece, Song of the Night, has stayed so popular, because it demonstrates so many of the effects that Salzado wrote down. He didn't necessarily invent all the effects, but there's over 33 different sonoric effects besides just playing the notes that you can do on the harp. There's things that take two hands I can't do while I'm holding the microphone, but there's plenty of stuff you can do with the harp that sounds nifty. Okay, you want to hold the microphone? So here's if you can even vibrating sound. If you can take a tuning key and you can slide it up and down, make it sort of like fluid, what Salzado called fluidic sounds. There's playing near the soundboard, which should sound like a guitar. Down near the soundboard with your fingernails. You heard me do harmonics, which are sort of basic harp pet tricks. But then there are more advanced things, and you can hold the pedal in between the notes and you can get this lovely sound. Which if you play in combinations of harps would be great for like a scary movie, but no one's ever thought that. Well, that TV show Lost, I loved it because the guy finally found, whoever wrote the music for that, discovered the creepiness of a low note on the bass of the harp slid down. It's all over that soundtrack. I was just like, oh, that's so creepy. That's my instrument. Ooh.
So John, tell him the one thing that Maestro never has to ask you.
Oh gosh, Maestro can never have enough harp. More harp. I'm like, I don't know. They don't make it much taller and fatter than me. I don't know how you're going to get more harp. This is as much harp as there can be. So he's never saying quite enough. Actually, though, I subbed with an orchestra, though, in Alabama, in Birmingham Symphony one summer long after I started playing with the Greenville Symphony, and the conductor said, oh, you don't need to play nearly that loudly. Which I found hilarious. Yes. I don't ever hear that at the Peace Center. Yes, ma'am.
You are almost the lead harpist. How many harps does Greenville Symphony draw from?
Well, I mean, we have a sub list. Generally, you only need one harp, but in modern writing, when you have a harp in the orchestra, more often than not, it calls for two in the major works. Like next year, we're doing the Planets, calls for two, by Gustav Holst, the Planets. And then the Mahler symphonies often all call for two. Strauss tone poems often call for two. It's usually if you have one, you're going to have two. That's the way it works. Yes, ma'am.
What was the name of the second piece that you played with the main conductor?
Oh yeah, Song in the Night by Carlos Salzado, Salzedo. And this is his harp, the Salzado model harp. And strangely enough, it's tall, and he was like a little pipsqueak. Yes, ma'am.
Like, how different is a folk harp compared to that? Can you play the same things?
Yeah, they're essentially played with the same finger technique. They're just different sizes. Folk harps come in a variety of string sizes from 14 to 17 to 36. And higher than that. They don't have pedals. And so you have to tune it in the key you want to play it, and then you typically will be able to move each individual string one at a time, one half step using a lever. But some folk harps don't have any levers at all. There's this guy, Edmar Castaneda, who comes from Peru, and he's phenomenal. But he plays a folk harp that he plays standing up, and it doesn't have any levers at all.
Well, what about like an electroacoustical pedal harp, like Andreas Wollenfeder?
Andreas Wollenfeder, I'm sure, I mean, it's amazing you know his name because he's been around for a long, he's like very wealthy, he's very popular in the new age thing.
Yes.
And he plays with his fingernails, and he does a very specialized thing, sort of like, it's like he's Wollenfedered keyboards too and other instruments. So it's a very niche kind of thing. But they do an amplified harp and what I call strap-on harps, like the little lever harps that people wear have become more popular in pop music. I don't know, it's sort of, they've been doing that for a number of years. If you go on YouTube, there's an old hokey thing with a lady from the 30s doing an Irish jig wearing a harp and playing it. It just doesn't, I don't know that it does much for the instrument. They don't seem to last. Lady Gaga had a harpist who wore a harp like that, and I just don't know. They're lovely and they're sort of a accoutrement for a little while, but they never end up seeming to be the core of the musicians. Whereas the guy who plays in What's Her Name in the Machine, there's a band in England, and he sits and he plays, and he is part of the band. Florence and the Machine. There's a harpist who plays with that band. Anyway, lots of things you can do. And yes, if I was the age that I was when I started back then, I would have been a punk rock harpist. Yes, for sure. Guaranteed. Yes, ma'am.
Having lived in the New York area for a lot of years, I often wondered how did they get those harps to the Metropolitan and to the Philharmonic?
So, most of those orchestras will own the instruments so that the harpists don't have to move them. But Manhattan is the kind of city, a lot of people do it a lot of different ways, but most people can't afford to have a car anymore. So you just factor in the cost of having harp movers. When I lived in Boston, there was this guy, Martin Jarman, who moved everybody. And whenever you'd go to play a gig, you'd say, well, that'll be, X number of $100 for me. And then you're going to pay Martin Jarman this to move the instrument there and back. But there are stories. Daphne Hellman used to have this group called the Hellman's Angels in New York. And she would put in the 20s and 30s, she would put a harp on a running board back when they had those things, hang on to it in the cab, and then take off. Apparently, that was the story. I don't know if I believe the story, but.
That's it? Question was? Oh, my goodness. This is such a pleasure to have had you, John, come and entertain us. My goodness, I feel like this is our Valentine, y'all. I mean, this is wonderful. I can't express to you how much we appreciate going to all this effort.
Oh, heavens, this was no effort, not much at all. I really appreciate the opportunity to play for you and to tell you more about the harp and about this symphony. We hope to see you at one of our concerts soon. And take care, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you.
Anyone wants our season at a glance or our sampler, come up to the front. We can give it to you or sign up for our mailing list. Please join us.
I'll take some to the back door.
Okay. Yeah. How about it?
Hey, Mary Lou.
Did you get a hearing?
No, that's all right. That's right. Sure.
Let me see if we had a hard surface. We can write down.
I do.
You have a book? Okay, good. And you can just do your name and your email, whichever is the best way to receive stuff.
Oh, really? Interesting stuff.
Oh.
Hang like all
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time.
So the 75th next year.
I know.
So they'll have a whole process. Hence, they're having applications for it. Yes, we have a whole committee together. Musicians, that kind of eager and knowledge of
And state here in Europe.
75, yes. I see you. So happy.
I know.
Good, bye-bye.
Oh,
Magazine anymore. Still,
He said it was water here.
Used to, we did.
I don't like absolutely everything.
they have a special coming up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
the harp with a, it's a different kind of harp, and he plays with his nails. It's a whole, and I don't dislike it.
Does recognize this one, but that's here. And then
In ages ago.
Yeah.
We're moving
I
here.
like this sound. I bought a true Irish harp. Just so that when I would do that kind of